All right. Hi. Welcome to the Games Cabinet. I'm your host.
And I am Justin, the scriptwriter, and I'm the guy who played Justin in the Intro to RPGs video.
We're here to answer a few frequently asked questions about role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games. Mainly asked by our friends.
Yeah, and just everything around it as well, right? And we've there's a lot of the questions that we kind of had, and we were hoping that maybe we knew at the start before we went into role-playing games, and if we can share that on and have people know that like the first time around they first start a campaign or one shot or whatever you decide to do, then I like to think of it as like a how-to for everything around the games, right? I think that's what the
Pretty
idea
much.
was.
Especially because like a lot of the people who are coming to our channel are new to RPGs. Like, I know quite a few people who have at least heard of it, but they don't really know like the ins and outs of it, and I feel like putting it all out and like not itemizing, but you get what I'm saying. Just
Yeah, like same things are like, because like it's very different than things like board games or even like video games, because I imagine a lot of the people who might be coming into this would be coming from maybe video games or board games, but those are things where it's like, oh, you can play, if you play for like an hour or two and then you leave, then you get the full experience, right? You play a board game for a few hours and then you're done. But in RPGs, it is one of the tricky things about it is if you want to get the whole experience, if you want to run a huge campaign, like you want to have a Dimension 20 or Critical Role experience where you're meeting for years on end or things like that, then it is kind of, there's some extra finicky things to do.
Yeah, and there's
right?
also like no tutorial within like the games themselves like you would in like a video game. Like, you know how you have like the beginner level of any video game, really? It's not like that. You just kind of get thrown in, you get given a set of die, and you get told, just roll. You're fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, like you or DM or whoever introduced you to the game will kind of be good enough to show you the ropes. But there could be people who watch things like Critical Role and like aren't really too sure how the game works, or like watch these kind of D&D shows or whatever, and you guys don't really know how the game works itself, and you don't have that there's not someone in your life who's there to hold your hand through the experience, right?
Yeah, I remember when I first got into it, I started off with a game called Masks, and my entire perception of RPGs were always built around like the D&D mechanics. And when my DM put down just 2 D6s and was like, "Okay, guys, you ready?" Everything kind of just left my head, and I was like, wait, hold on. And luckily for me, I had a very understanding DM. I had a very nice DM, and he was able to like talk me through what I needed to do, how I needed to do it. Very kind of him. But I also understand that not a lot of DMs have that kind of time or patience to do that kind of stuff. So outsourcing it to, well, I guess outsourcing to us wouldn't be like the right phrasing, but us explaining it would be a very good thing.
Yeah, and the thing is though, like the point of this podcast isn't really to explain rules or things like that. That's kind of what more of the channel, the more the videos are for, the how-tos. For this one, for these podcasts, we're just going to go over some, I guess, meta things. Mainly how to, schedule things, what different tools you can use to really enhance your game, maybe go over difficult content, things like that, and just things that the community has built to help really enjoy the most out of these RPGs, right? So that's the point of the podcast. And so for this episode, I think we have a few questions prepared.
We do. They are prepared by our lovely friends and fans. Friends and fans, I'll say.
Yeah, at some point we do expect to be answering some questions later on, but for right now we do have some friends of ours who brought in some questions. We asked about, hey, getting started in RPG, what are the big hurdles, right? Because it's been a little bit of time for each of us, right? We haven't. It's been a while since we've started, right? Playing RPGs, or like, right? So we kind of know what the deal is now. But what would be some questions that a first person, maybe wanting to run a first RPG game, would
Yeah.
have? So,
For example, first question is, well, one that we answered within our first video of what is a TTRPG, but I feel like we could probably delve not a little deeper, but like just give it a quick rundown.
yeah. So, well, I wrote the script for that video. So let me see what your original thought on this is.
If anyone has any complaints about the script, just know it's this guy. Anyways.
Okay, look, I had to keep it a reasonable time. I could explain every little thing, and then the video would be an hour long, and you'd have to do an hour of animation.
Well, you see, my dear.
You know what? You can take... I will accept hate mail to my P.O. box, which doesn't exist right now, so... I don't know.
Take all of your actuallys and give it to this guy. Anyways,
and just know that I will be very vigilant on reading all of them. Absolutely.
Anyways, a tabletop role-playing game, or TTRPG for acronym.
You better not just
I'm
read
not
the script
reading
again.
The script. I quite literally have nothing open. It's off the dome.
Go for
Tabletop role-playing game is a role-playing game that you play at a tabletop. Crazy, I know.
Whoa.
Pretty much it's you and like a group of people, whether or not it's a large group of people or a small group of people, doesn't really matter. But it's all of you coming together, and essentially the way I like thinking of it is you guys are coming together to create all parts of like a story. Like, if you think about, take a fairy tale for example, Snow White, Seven Dwarfs, easy example. You don't have like the perspectives of each of those characters. You don't know what Snow White's thinking. You don't know what the Seven Dwarves are thinking. But in an RPG, you get to embody one of those characters. You get to know the inner workings of their mind, and you get to bring both that thought process and that experience to the table, which helps like drive the narrative forward, you know? It's like...
Yeah,
sorry.
so... Yeah, the way I like to see it is like something that really does help me is I read something called like How to Read Literature Like a Professor a bit ago, and it was just talking about the different ways to write a story. And one thing they say is that there are 3D characters and there are 2D characters, right? There's characters that like you surround the narrative around of, and then there's people who have to be there just to move the plot along. Right, and those are 2D. And 3D is the people you're actually like following. So like, for example, The Great Gatsby. Gatsby is a 3D character, right? The story rounds around him and the drama with him and Nick and I think his name is Tom and Daisy. Like the whole story rounds around them. And then there's plot characters. There's people like, I forget the mechanic's name. Spoiler alerts for The Great Gatsby, by the way. The mechanic who ends up shooting Gatsby, right? Like he serves a narrative purpose to kill Gatsby, to elevate the drama. But we don't really care too much about his
personal life.
Right, the story. Exactly, the story. I mean, to an extent, kind of, but the story doesn't care too much about his childhood and what his background is or whatever. He's there to serve.
Outside of his
purpose,
wife, we don't really give a shit.
Yeah, and I guess to him as well. So, yeah. So 3D characters are usually the player characters. I mean, there could be some that the DM or whoever runs the game might use as well if it's recurring NPCs. But mainly the DM's going to be doing 2D characters, right? Just people who are there for the plot and are mainly there to reflect back on the 3D characters, the player characters, right? Yeah. But yeah, that's all the stuff that we kind of went over for the intro. So why don't we go over some of the questions we have.
All right. Another question that we had that I think would be a good idea to bring up quite early is like D&D alternatives, because when I first got into RPGs, I only really thought about like, you know, D&D. I went into it being like, oh hell yeah, D&D, oops all D&D, and then I got stuck into a game called Masks, and I ended up absolutely loving that game. And then I got introduced to more and more different kinds of games, like Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a bunch of RPGs out there.
Just like, what are some D&D
Yeah,
alternatives?
and so what was the question? I see. Well, first of all, there might be a few people listening to this that'll be like, "There's other games besides D&D." So, you know, I guess the answer to that is yes. There's absolutely everything. The D&D is kind of the, I guess the like maybe vanilla example, because it's the one that's been used as like the RPG. It is the RPG, right? It is the most popular one, and it's kind of because it's like it's been like when people think of a fantasy, they think about being powerful and like medieval. Like even if you think just fantasy, you're probably thinking like a medieval with magic, right? And that's what basically what D&D is. It has an established setting, but you don't really need to follow that. You can kind of make up your own world, and it's kind of just medieval plus extra magic stuffs. And that's usually what people mean when they say fantasy. They want like a Lord of the Rings thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there. There's, like you said, there's one of my favorites actually is Vampire the Masquerade, which is, I guess, not too much off the mainstream. It's basically playing vampires in like a modern setting. I really like it because it's very easy, maybe even for a first-time gamer, because it's a modern setting, so you know you don't have to do things like like if you're going to a tavern or something like that. That's not, you know, if you want to
You can go to a nightclub.
do things like that. Exactly, right? Instead of a tavern, you go to a hotel, and you know exactly how to check into a hotel. Or if you need to get somewhere, you don't need to rent a horse and carriage.
You got Uber.
You drive a car.
You get Uber.
You get Uber, literally, yeah. You get Uber and all this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, there's other stuff. But Vampire the Masquerade is very much like a political game, right? It's very much like a crime. If people like to call it like a crime game. So like if you think of like The Sopranos, or
It's a lot of mob
The
stuff.
Godfather.
A lot of mob stuff.
Yeah, because you'll be doing a lot of illegal things.
Yeah. And
it's a lot of power plays and things like that.
And like the clans act kind of like mob families do anyways. So like if you're super into like mob media and like supernatural things, Vampire the Masquerade is both super easy to get into and super easy to play. Like the system is literally just a bunch of like D10s. That's it.
Yeah. And so that's one of them. There's actually a few others. So again, all this to say, we're going to bring up a bunch of other ones, but not to say that D&D is bad. Well, none of us, I don't think either of us are going to say that D&D is bad.
D&D is great.
It's just, yeah. It's just for, you know, there's like a bunch of other things. It's like saying vanilla ice cream isn't bad, but sometimes I want sprinkles.
Exactly. Like, it's nice to have it there, but like you don't always just want to have like that one thing going for you. Sometimes you want other things. Sometimes you want some Oreo in your ice cream, and that's okay.
Exactly. Or maybe you want Rocky Road or mint chocolate chip or something like that, or you just want something different.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you don't even want ice cream, right?
And to be fair, like D&D also like is super easy to like mod, would be a word for you PC gamers out there. It's super easy to like modify with like homebrew and stuff. I played a campaign that instead of being set in like medieval times or like a fantasy thing, it was just Star Wars. I played a Night Sister. It was sick. I loved it. It was so cool. And like I'm pretty sure the wiki for it is still up. My DM didn't like homebrew it himself, but like a lot of people will like adapt different settings and stuff into like certain systems. So like if you guys want a different setting with a familiar system, it's super easy to just implement that.
Yeah, exactly. And just to wrap this up before, because we have a lot more questions on the way. A couple other systems are pretty good. Is another pretty popular one is Call of Cthulhu. That's very like horror based in 1920s around the Prohibition area. So if you like flappers and speakeasies and stuff like that, and also the same realm as horror and things like that. So Call of Cthulhu is pretty good. Blades in the Dark is also up there as well. It's pretty cool one as well. It's another crime game, but you mostly about robberies. I don't think I actually know about Blades in the Dark. Have you ever played it?
No, no, I have not.
Oh, so this is news to you as well.
Yes.
So Blades in the Dark, basically it's set in a modern-ish city, and it's kind of like a 20th century, like early 20th century. Think like Peaky Blinders, and yeah, you're just playing a crime gang, and your job is just to gain power, right? You're not here for any big quest or anything like that. You're just gaining power through heists, and the heists in the game are really cool. And yeah, if you just want to be, if you really like, again, not necessarily, modern, different setting, different mechanics, stuff like that. There's everything in the world, right? So those are some we recommend just to start out with. You can read through those, and there's a ton of stuff online, wikis. We're just passing past rabbit holes right now. These things go deep, right?
Yeah.
Right, you kind of talked about earlier with the Vampire the Masquerade clans. These things go deep. We're just trying our best not to step into any of them right now.
Yeah, because otherwise this would be like a 3-hour podcast, and as a first podcast, I don't think that anyone is going to listen to all of that.
Exactly. So those are the alternatives we'd recommend. Of course, there's more than we'd recommend. There's more that are out there that we'd also recommend, but we just don't have the time to really get into them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's plenty of fish in the sea. If you look up, honestly, if you go through Drive Through RPG, that website, that's honestly a pretty good place to check out for new stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we bring on to the next question?
What is the money cost? Oh, that's oddly phrased. Essentially, how much would it cost to fully get into this hobby?
So we're going to come at this kind of from different perspectives, because you've never been a DM.
No.
Right, and I have been a DM for the better part of a decade.
Yep.
So we're going to come at this. So let's start with you. What do you think it's going to cost?
I think it's a couple $1,000s for like a big game.
What do you mean big game?
Like, we're talking over the course of like a few years, with like...
Well, more like, how about like for, let's say you're running a one-shot, but you don't have any of the materials. Oh, and for the people at home, one-shot is essentially, we talk about running games as campaigns where you meet week by week. One-shot is planned ahead of time with your players, and all the DM is basically saying, this game is only going to go for one session, for one evening, and we're going to cover a whole story in one evening. It's not going to be that expansive of a story.
Mm-hmm.
So by one shot, I mean you're only playing one evening. So let's say you don't have that many materials. What do you think?
Well, short stories, it depends really on how much production value you want. Because I know that like a bunch of DMs want like terrain and stuff for certain areas. They want to have like, they want to have the big bad boss at the end of it to have their own like mini. I think when it comes to like smaller things, it doesn't need to be expensive, is what I'll say. Because like you don't need to have a whole lot of minis. When we first started out on one of our longer campaigns from like a one-shot, we just used chess pieces and like grid paper, which I guess if you're buying grid paper, then like a couple dollars at like the dollar store or something, but like really you don't need for it to be super expensive. If you want to like pull out all the stops, go for it. All the power to you. But like that's for someone just starting out, that's not really sustainable,
Yeah, I agree. And so basically I'm gonna just provide a little more context to that, and I'll maybe provide some number values to that. So when I first started, I was in high school and I just had like fifth edition. Um, that just came out a little bit before, and yeah, so I got gifted the fifth edition book. So I guess that's not really fair for someone who has to buy all their own stuff. But you could probably, if money is an issue, I would say maybe buying a PDF is better than buying a hardcover, right? Buying something online is always better than buying a physical copy, and it might even be better to transport. Like, because I remember going on the bus, going on public transport. I would just scroll through the rule book on my phone, right? And it's usually easy to knock a few pages out if you're interested in reading through it. But so there's that, and then there's the battle mat that I kind of went over the edge. That cost maybe about $50. And then minis, yeah, I spent a lot of money on minis, but you can use anything as long as or you can ask the players if, hey, you want a mini for the character, fine. But you're gonna have to get your own or something like that, right? Otherwise, you just use like game pieces or something like that. So if you really, but again, I got like an Expo, the wet marker one that took up an entire table. You could, yeah, very easily do it with just some the square paper, graph paper.
Yeah, grid paper. Just
for like a few bucks. So you could maybe even get started for something like $30 for the PDF plus the grid paper.
Also, you don't.
I guess maybe some printing costs for if you want to print your character sheets and stuff like that.
You also don't necessarily have to like buy the thing. Not that I'm
Exactly. Well, hold on. Let's not get into that territory.
Not that I'm no, not like that. No. I meant no. Shh. Listen. Hear me out. There's a lot of like wikis.
Yo ho,
no.
A pirate's life for me.
No, I'm not endorsing being a pirate, guys. Don't. But no, like wikis. There's like a hell of a lot of wikis and like free PDFs to find, especially with like base game. Even like D&D Beyond, like all the base rules are for free right there, and like you don't have to pay for it. Guys, I'm not endorsing doing illegal things.
I was going to say that if you wanted to start off with some smaller RPGs, like for instance Honey Heist or Mythic Bastion Land or things like that, a lot of smaller publishers will actually release at least a starter kit for free.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm not sure if this is the case with D&D. Maybe they do it, but
Wizards of the Coast.
But the starter stuff you can probably get online, or if you wanted to just maybe try out an RPG, Adventurers League. Right, that's something that is a good idea. If you really want to do D&D, Adventurers League is always a good pick. Basically, Dungeons and Dragons officially sponsors stores to go out into Adventurers League, and they have GMs prepared for you. All you need is to show up. You will need dice, but again, you could probably a lot of these you could just ask other people. So, if you need character sheets, they provide paper, character, or dice, or any sort of extra material they provide. And that's something I would really recommend if you just wanted to try it out. Or if you're just like, hey, maybe D&D's for me. But I don't really want to put a financial cost on it until I really decide that this is for me. I want to try it out, right? Essentially. And that's absolutely something I'd recommend for that. And yeah, of course, there's all this other stuff as well that you can use as free, just like a quick free demo, because people who make these games, they want you to be able to make an informed decision about whether you're going to buy it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So nothing, yeah, right. If you want, there's nothing behind like paywalls unless you really want to get like top quality stuff, and if you really want to like commit to it and get the top quality battle sets, like the Warhammer 40k battle maps and the terrain, you can do that. And if that's something that, if D&D is a game you're gonna really play for a long time, then I would absolutely recommend it. Right. So yeah, look for stuff online. Adventures League. Look at your local board game store. See if they have anything. Yeah, that's what I'd recommend if you want to try to get started and maybe do it for a lower, for like lower or no cost, just to start out at least.
Yeah, super accessible as well. Like, just because like you're not pulling out all the stops and stuff doesn't mean that you're not gonna have like a good time, you know?
Exactly, right? Like, and if you know what, if D&D is good, if the game is good for you, it's gonna be good for you regardless of your investment into it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
If you like it,
you'll
like
get
it.
more, right? Maybe you'll just have like a little bit of fun, and then once you put more money into it, you have more fun. But if it's good for you when if it's good for you spending 0, it's good for you when you're spending, 100 or whatever, 1000.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend in that sense. All right, moving things along because we about I think halfway through now.
Yeah.
The time I still have a lot. We only answered like 2 questions.
It's okay. They're very important and deep questions that needed to be answered. Alright, next question. I keep hearing videos about people being weird. Are all people who are into RPGs like that?
Yes, we're all crazy people. We're all actually in a cult, believe it or not. The people in the 80s were right about D&D. We're all in a cult, and we sacrifice goats every single session.
Alright.
It's very expensive to live this lifestyle.
Alright, for those not fully fluent in sarcasm, that was sarcasm. Most people are normal.
So just you.
No. Yes, sure, whatever. Anyways.
I mean, what's your definition of weird?
That's a good question. I haven't had experience with strange people, like people who I don't know how to say this without coming off as strange, but there is a stereotype of like, the those kinds of geek guys,
Nerds, geeks.
No. Cuz like there are how do I put this? But like, the actually kind of guys. The ones who kind of make you uncomfortable at tables, the ones who make strange comments is, I guess, what I would say.
So uncomfortable geeks, you would call them?
Yeah.
Okay, so people who make other people uncomfortable and are also geeks.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we could have a whole separate video on addressing this, like talking about it at your table. But I'm not going to say those people don't exist. But
yeah, of course.
For every one of those, there's like 5 people, or 5 to 10 to maybe 50 people. I don't know what the ratio is, but I think I would wager to say at least 10 people who are not like that, and will probably call them out on that.
Yeah, which is good.
And if you're playing with your friends, you know exactly who those people are, right?
Yeah. You know who to avoid.
Exactly. And if you're worried you're gonna be seen like that, it's not the 80s anymore. I mean, geek culture is part of just the mainstream now, right? Like, if I say the name Robert Downey Jr., like everyone knows who that is, right?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, and Game of Thrones and things like this. The geek culture is just culture now.
Yeah, I think people are
Right.
more concerned about like the stereotypical geek guys who are like that have an anime body pillow, I'll say.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yes, you got me. But yeah, no, I understand. I mean, but those people, true, but I would say those people exist everywhere, and it's going to happen regardless of what hobby you're in. There's always going to be the people who take it a little too far.
Yeah.
And here's where I'm going to make a blatant shout out. Go to RPG Horror Stories if you want to hear about more of those. But people complain about them because it's always, they always complain, people complain about bad things. Like,
Yes.
no one's going to say, like, no one's gonna have a great session of D&D. Oh, some people do, actually. They have a great session of D&D or whatever. And if it was just good, or if it was good, or it was great even, they're just gonna be like, oh, cool, it happened, and then they're gonna move on. But if something
Yeah.
bad happens, then they're gonna wanna vent that. But, you know, it's... I would say those people, I mean, if you choose your group carefully, again, you know who your friends are, you know what their type are gonna be like, then you're gonna know who those people are. And if you go to a group of people you don't know, then yeah, I guess you are going to be rolling the dice a bit. There's a term of phrase. But we'll just, I mean, part of it is just hope you don't get a natural one. But also, if you meet with a group of people and you really don't like the group because they're like that or they're just not your vibe, great. You've played one game, right? Took like, you've wasted maybe like 2 hours, or maybe if you've decided you want to leave early, you wasted like an hour, and then you don't have to go back to that group again. Oh no.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, if that's something, anyway, just to close this off, if that's a real concern, probably choose your own friends to do something like that.
Yeah. I actually think that, like, knowing the people that you're gonna play with beforehand is, like, the best course of action. Because, like, not only do you know who your players are, you know who's gonna react in what way, you also know, like, people's comfort zones at that point. And, like, if anyone starts getting uncomfortable, then, like, it's an easy thing to address. Meanwhile, with strangers, it might just be a little more, bit more anxiety-inducing, I guess, to bring up things you're uncomfortable with. But it's also very important to be able to do that. So starting off with, like, friends would be your best course of action, and then slowly work your way up to, like, you know, going into, like, your local game store and joining a random group, or, like, joining a club, you know, getting to know some randoms.
I agree. Getting that kind of, it's going to be probably important as well, since you are talking about stories and things like that where anything can happen. It's going to be important to set boundaries. Right? Just saying, hey, while we're playing this game together, I want to have fun, but this thing is not fun for me. Like this specific, not like this specific thing. Again, this is probably more of a topic for other days. We could talk about this for a whole podcast, but just saying, just being able to set boundaries with people is very important in a game where literally anything can happen and everyone has total freedom of choice.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, yeah. Why don't we move on to something else? The next question.
All right. This one's a bit of it. I'm just gonna read it how it was phrased. I watched Critical Role, but I don't have as much fun as they do. I don't feel like I was able to do anything. Did I do something wrong?
Okay, I'm gonna use an analogy of like one of my favorite channels. Shut up and sit down. Can we keep this? Do we want to keep this PG?
PG-13. You're allowed to. I've already said shit. It's fine.
Okay. I'm gonna use the analogy. Hey, last night I was on Pornhub, right?
Yeah.
And all of the people in the videos were having a lot of fun. But when I do it, I don't perform as well as them. Am I doing something? But I had a lot of fun. Am I doing something wrong?
A bit of a rephrase of the question, but it still kind of works out. Just because, like...
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed myself, but I didn't have as much fun as it looked like they were having. Am I doing something wrong? Oh my gosh, I mentioned the no-no parts, and all of a sudden you've got all giggly. Like, I mean, Critical Role and things like that. Okay, just to get... I mean, it is kind of, joking a bit, but getting a bit more serious, like they say as well in the video. Getting Critical Role and Dimension 20 and all the actual play shows and things like that are an entertainment product, right? They're shows, right? By definition. So they're part of that. Well, the reason how they make money is by having, having fun and like performing to an extent. I'm not saying they're not actually having fun, but like they prepare, and that's their full-time job, is that kind of thing, right? So if you're gonna, if you're worried about like coming back at like, if you already are working a job or you have your own life, and this is just something you do as a hobby, and you still have fun, but maybe you're not performing as much, which is fine. And if you were, still having fun, but you're not laughing out loud and having like 5-minute long, like laugh sessions, that's also fun. Right? Like, and the question is, did you enjoy the experience more than you would have enjoyed something else? Right? Or or sitting by yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, get your giggles out of you.
No.
We're very professional.
Absolutely. This is the most professional podcast ever.
He said, stuttering.
Shut up. Anyways, to bring back the point though, pull it back to the question. What about when you feel like you didn't do anything like at all? Like you felt like you were just kind of being strung along on this, on like. Essentially, you feel like you've been pushed as an NPC.
To use some of our vocabulary that we'd use with each other, railroading.
Oh.
To use some of our vocabulary we used to with each other, like railroading type.
Sure.
Yeah. So, so basically, in terms of like, your DM has kind of guided you along on a certain thread, and you just kind of like, you just feel like, we're not really making choices. We're just kind of following this.
Yes.
So first of all, I would say that's probably a different problem. If the problem is you're not enjoying the game, then you might want to reconsider what game you're playing, right? Or maybe you want to step away from it and come back a little bit later. If
or
the problem is,
sorry, or even just like rethink the people that you're playing with.
Yeah, I mean, you have to recognize what the problem is first, like what part of it you're not enjoying, and if the problem is that your GM or if you feel like you're being strung along and you kind of want more of a freedom of your choices, that's a DM question. That's something you have to, again, think of bringing up boundaries, which again, it's probably going to be a whole video at this point.
Its own separate video.
Right. We're just trying to get through the basics.
Teach the socially anxious how to set a boundary.
First, you have to identify the problem. Well, I'm a computer science person, so if I'm socially active, then no one else has an excuse, including you.
Hey.
So, yeah, the first solution is recognizing there's a problem, and then you have to talk with who is the problem essentially, or what is the problem, right? If the problem is you don't like how this player plays, or like something that they're doing that's affecting you, then that's a problem to them. If it's something like that, that's a GM problem, right? Talk to your games master, be like, hey, I really wish we'd have this type of thing, and yeah, maybe I wish I had a little bit more freedom to decide certain things, or maybe it's just not a good table fit. Maybe that's just the way that GM does things, and that's just not a good table fit. Then you're just gonna have to say, well, I don't, then I'm probably not too cut out for this table then.
Yeah, sometimes it's okay to just drop a table. It's fine. It's not a reflection of like you or the people that you're around. It's just sometimes it just doesn't mesh with you,
Exactly. All right. Do we have any other questions?
I think we have one final question, which I think is the most important one out of all of these. how to schedule a campaign.
Oh my god. This is the one, when we were having like our pre-conversation for this is the one thing that was like,
Oh god, oh no, oh jeez,
yeah, it's the one question we
no.
were both scratching our heads for a little bit. All right, so let's get
Because
let's jump into it. So, what is the problem? So, explain for us, for me and the viewers, the context of this question.
okay, so like the context of the question or the context of just like the question in general, or do you want like the specific context of this specific, like the context of this specific question being asked by this specific person and the fact that it's all in all caps?
Why don't we do both?
Okay, so this question was submitted to us by our lovely DM for, well, my newest campaign. Somebody backed out of it because he wanted the free time. Not gonna mention who though. Anyways, it was submitted to us by our DM, and we've managed to fit in like one session this month for this campaign. Like, it's a huge campaign. I drew the map for this campaign. It's absolutely massive, and we got one session this month because people have like stuff. Like, people had like parties, camping, people had jobs, crazy, just a whole lot of stuff that like gets in the way of like actually getting, like, being able to sit down and play your little campaign. In a more general sense, scheduling a campaign is usually one of the biggest issues in tabletop role-playing, because you don't only have to worry about your schedule, like your job, your other responsibilities, that kind of stuff. You also have to worry about like five other people and their availability.
I don't know if your headset died. I think your audio is a bit bad.
No, that's just
all right. We can cut this out then. We'll cut this
everything else is
or
fine.
Leave it
in. That's fine. I'll leave it in. Just so they know that you're trying to gaslight me.
Whoops, I tried. Said the one who said I was the one who said that we need to put boundaries up. Anyway, so continue.
But yeah, no, scheduling is like one of the biggest factors in like not just being able to do a campaign, but quite honestly, the death of many campaigns. I remember that Star Wars campaign that I mentioned earlier. It died a horrible, horrific death. Like, we had a prequel going because people couldn't make the main session, and even that died.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. So something that we both had experience with is campaigns fizzling out, right? They don't end in like a big climactic finality where all the characters get closure and you can close the book. Things just kind of fizzle out, right?
Yeah.
And
not even just fizzle out, just oopsies. Not even fizzle out, just oopsies left it on a cliffhanger. No season 2 though, no season 2.
Yeah, exactly. So the way to, I guess, okay, so let me go back from the start and say that committing to something for a long time is going to be rough. Even committing to like a 9-to-5 job, right? Some people can't even show up 9 to 5 every day, right, to their jobs or whatever, right? You know, that's why you have things like sick days and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you say, so first of all, the way to, okay, so I'm going to combat this from 3 points of view. From the start, like you're thinking about starting a campaign and then you have this in the back of your head. If you're in the middle of a campaign and you can kind of see this happening, and I guess after the campaign ends you can do a retrospective, but I'll just talk about more my experience from campaigns that I've had. So before you start a campaign, you how to kind of combat this from the start is, first of all, you should choose a time with everyone that, you know, obviously works. Like, don't choose it in the middle of the day on like a Wednesday unless, you know, no one's working like 9 to 5s. This is why I loved being in when I was in high school. This is why my longest running campaign happened then, because when you're a kid, you don't really have, those responsibilities. But yeah, so my recommendation actually, if everyone's working like 9 to 5 full time every day, I would actually recommend on a weeknight. Believe it or not, because weekend, that's the times when if you're going to like go out to do something, like usually people plan their doctors or any sort of vacations or whatever they're going to do around the weekend, and there's the expectation from people around them that they're kind of going to be available on the weekend, right? And so I would actually recommend that. And also, but if you're under a different circumstance, obviously that's not going to apply to everyone. You're just going to have to figure out a time that works with everyone. I think what we used, one of our friends who ran our games used, was an app called When to Meet. 2 is the number 2. And that's where everyone can just come together and put in the times that they're all available throughout the week. And then you can come up with a perfect slot that works with you guys. So that's one thing. Second thing is, you have to think about what type of campaign times work with everyone. Do you want to have like 2 weekly, 1-hour games, or like 1 weekly 3-hour game, or maybe want to do bi-weekly or something like that, right? But the biggest thing I would say, and this kind of comes, unfortunately, I guess, yeah, unfortunately, from Mary Kondo, is like, do have something and then be okay with, like, be done with it. For instance, like, all the games I had, I was very realistic in the sense that I was going to university and I was playing games, and I recognized that I came from out of country to go to that university. So I recognized that I could not keep a campaign, right, going after I left, or even from fall to winter, because some players would graduate or take a semester off or something like that. So I kept everything self-contained within the semester. And you really have to be realistic about what your people's availabilities are and kind of format that into your campaign. So our campaign only lasted 12 sessions, 12 weeks for the semester. And, maybe your situation is different, maybe you could have longer, but I would always lean on the shorter side. If you don't think, if people have families, people have responsibilities, maybe just like a month game. Like maybe you meet 4 times a month, and then you call that a day, and you call that a thing. And maybe you could end the story there, or you could continue it on next month and just have them be like an anthology type thing, right? Or maybe you can do what's called a West Marches type game, where it's like, oh, we play a small game. The story is self-contained. Maybe there's no overarching theme, but if you drop out, that's fine. Like if one person leaves, that's fine, right? And right, one of the things that really comes to home about this is, I think there's actually a study that's released saying that if there's like 5 people, 1 DM and 4 players in a game, there's going to be there could be over like a 70% chance that on a given week that either the session or one session's going to fail, right? Or something like that.
For what purpose?
Well, it's just a person, one person can't make it, and then you just decide, well, okay, I don't really want to play a game with only 2 or 1 person, so we're just going to skip this week. And then you find out that, hey, maybe you're skipping 2 weeks because then another 2 people can't make it, and then third week, oh, no one can make it again, and then no one asks after that, and the game just fizzles.
Yeah.
Right, that's usually what I've seen happen in my games for things that I've had. Yeah, and if you find it happening during the middle of a campaign, the best thing I can say, the best time to tackle this problem is at the start. But during the middle, you might want to just have a sincere discussion on like a group chat with the group being like, hey, maybe we should reschedule our games, or maybe we just have to maybe have a final session, and then like that could be a bit abrupt, but at least to get some sort of closure for the story, right? And then we all feel like, hey, this was a nice self-contained experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any things that worked on your end?
So, the problem with all of my experiences is I'm the one with the bad schedule. So, for one of the campaigns I was in, I was more of a recurring NPC that kept accidentally dying. To the point where it was a Greek mythology themed thing, so it was kind of like, oh god, I can't remember who it was now. But there's a character in fuck. No, I did an entire class on this. Essentially, there's a person that it's theorized whether this person was actually on the boat or off the boat. Maybe they weren't even part of the team at all. Maybe they were just mentioned. We don't really know. This is the same with my character. Canonically, she was in like a barrel for like 90% of this time. In our other one, luckily for me, I wasn't the problem in that one. But the problem was everyone else had like actual things to do. So we eventually just kind of let it die out. It was like a TV show that got canceled, and it was super sad because we had a prequel to R.I.P. Gora. Homegirl's never gonna get her Night Sister revenge on the Jedi. Don't laugh at her. She tried her best.
I mean, this is the kind of the thing I want to say, that like you want to go back to that story, and I guess that's kind of good that the DM for that game created a story that was so riveting for you that you want to return to that world. But yeah, it wouldn't have been better if how many sessions did you play?
Quite a few.
What's
like
was it like 8 or 12 or?
I actually can't remember.
Let's say it was 8, right?
Sure.
Wouldn't you have been better if it was like, hey, maybe the story was a bit more fast paced, but at the end of the 8th session, my story was done.
Sounds good.
Right, and that's like meaning having it like be more realistic about when you're gonna end. Just be okay with things ending, I guess, is the moral of the story.
Yeah.
Right, as is with life.
Yeah. Bit sad, no?
Yeah, but oh man, I feel so bad. She never got to see you.
At least all of your sessions ended with everyone fucking dying.
All of my sessions? That's only one campaign.
How many deaths were there?
There's only there's 5, but
and how many players were there?
I planned for it to be a total party wipe. Like they knew going in. I was very upfront with them at the start of being like, hey, this is gonna be a total party wipe. This is gonna be it's a game we all are gonna die at the end, but you can do stuff that are really cool on the way down.
Yeah.
Right. But hey, everyone got a good ending, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So actually, so I guess to recap this section is just be realistic about how long. You might think everyone's excited at the start to start an RPG campaign, but you really need to consider the scope as, let's say, the one who's organizing it. You really do have to consider how long is it before random stuff starts happening. It's going to ruin this. Not ruin, but it's going to get in the way. Like, if there's families involved, that's obviously something. If one of them has maybe a medical issue, that's going to maybe be a factor, right? Or if someone travels a lot for vacation or for business, that's going to be another factor, right?
If someone dies in the middle of the campaign, that's going to be a factor.
I mean, yeah, but I guess that's always the case. But sure, you can plan for that, I guess, too. Or if you have or you maybe consider playing online with that one person. If they're like, hey, I'm really sick today, I can't come in. Well, I'm just gonna hop in on like a group chat call, and the rest of you guys be in person.
We actually had that. In one of our campaigns. One of the player characters, I can't remember if it was because they lived quite a long while away, or because they had chronic illnesses. But we would have them on like a little video call, and it was really cool because like she would have to point down like to her dice whenever we did rolls, just so we'd be like, yep, you're not faking a nat 20.
Oh, so she had a camera on her desk, and she would roll the dice and then immediately put her hands up?
No, pointed down.
Oh, pointed down at the dice. Like, immediately put her hands up like, nope, no, I'm not faking these rolls.
You had to, because it's like, don't get me wrong, honor system and all, but also, sometimes you can be a little cheeky.
Yeah. Especially if your character's on, like, about to die, and it's a long campaign. You really don't want to let that happen, but yeah, it's very important to set those kind of rules. You know,
she's very sweet though. Love her.
Yeah, I guess also makes it really cool when you roll a really good roll, and then you just get to see it in real time. That's kind of cool as well. Actually, I actually had one more question. I was going to add it to the mix, and maybe we can get your input on this too. So just to kind of wrap everything up, all these questions we've had. One question I would also ask is, I'm going to be a hypothetical viewer. Okay, great. Let's say I played a session online, which is also an option. Maybe we should have talked about that a bit more. You can play online with people completely on Discord or anything else. That's actually a pretty big thing. Playing completely online with either friends or strangers. But I've played my one game online. I've tried it online. When we went to a Games Night Adventures League, and I want to be the one, or I want to play it with a group of friends, or maybe my school or work or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just don't know how. Right? Like, how do I bring this up to people? How do I get a first session going? How do I get people interested? What would you say to those people?
Honestly, my best advice for that as a player, just put yourself out there. Just like anyone you think, or even people you don't think would be interested in it, because someone might be interested in it and you had no idea. But like, just put yourself out there. And that's the craziest thing to say, especially to someone who might have social anxiety. Like, it's all in your head, don't worry about it, just do it. No. But like, I tend to find that like just doing your best to like put yourself out there, maybe talk to some friends beforehand, maybe even look on like, if it's for your school, maybe even look on like school forums and stuff. Oh god, that makes me sound old. But like, try to do your best to find people who would be interested, and like do your best to try and find people who already have things going, you know?
Yeah, and something I would add to that is, you can, I'll try to give a better version of the socially anxious person, because you're the socially anxious person.
No.
So you can, so maybe I can say something that I can just cheekily put as like an aside to you as well. Is you? Microphone disconnected.
Yep. It's okay. That's just for the call. He's about to put sage wisdom on us.
How is this? Okay, we'll cut this out. And by we,
we don't have to. Don't worry.
And by we, I mean you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you don't have. You know,
I was gonna put something. I was gonna say something really cool, and then of course the universe was like, "No, you're gonna be too cool. We gotta stop that."
And the worst part is, we're both like Okay, a little behind the scenes. We're both separately recording this.
Yeah. So if there's recording,
the call audio won't affect this.
Yeah, I guess so.
ladies and gentlemen, my scriptwriter.
Yeah, I'm very good. I'm very good at everything technical and talk and discussion based.
You're in CS. You're in computer science.
You know what?
You do this for a job.
You know what?
You do this for a living.
You know what? I never said I did my job well. So anyway, sage wisdom. Let me break it down for you. Let me break it down for you. Big thing is that if you enjoy playing RPGs, if you went to your first session and you played it for a little bit, and you really like playing a character and everything like that, part of something you enjoyed is you enjoyed it, like interacting with people and the shared imagination. But the main thing is you enjoyed interacting with people, right? And this is something I wish I could kind of say to my past self. Running my first D&D game, I was so nervous, and honestly, looking back, that game was terrible. I ran a horrible game, and but that's not the point, because my players, they came back week by week. I had a consistent group week by week because they were having fun with my horrible game, right? My first game was about an economic recession. They had to learn what a blockade and an embargo was and things like that. And then in session 2, session 3, we would start killing goblins and stuff because they needed money or whatever. But
wait,
seriously, I was a weird kid.
Yeah, no shit.
Anyway, and they were really bored hearing the port authority talk about how this blockade is going to stop all their business or whatever. But
insanity.
But the thing is that, like, I was nervous and then I ran a horrible game, but when I started it, I had fun, and everyone else around me, like, I had a great time playing a game too. And if don't worry about making the perfect game, right? Be okay playing bad games.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Not every game is gonna be like Roll20 levels good,
Yeah, exactly. And if you're worried about getting something started, then maybe if you're at a school, then hey, maybe you could bring it up as like a theater exercise, or maybe just like just as like a community gathering. That's honestly like the way that people are starting to research RPGs as if they're like a kind of like counseling service now, right? So it has a good, it has scientific basis to be like a community group, right? Where people do knitting, people make woodworks, people play RPGs. That's just a different thing. And for work, same thing. Just have it as like have an after work together, get together, right? Or if you are in a group of people who play RPGs or just play games together, like not necessarily RPGs, just put it together like that. And don't be afraid to run imperfect games. Don't worry about having everything prepared, from the woods to the city to like the basement underneath Jonathan Creek's house, right? Like you look and there's exactly 2.57 pounds of flour, but half of it is rotted or has mildew or bacteria. Like, you don't, right? Like, you can make stuff on the spot, and your players can help you out as well. And players love helping DMs, maybe come up with some things, like seeing their ideas in the world. And yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but the game is still going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, it's more accepted than you probably think it is. Again, this is mainly me talking to me back in the day. I don't know what the getting into RPGs now is like, but back in the day, I was really nervous about this.
You sound so old. Back in my day.
And that's where we're gonna end it off.
It is a good time to end it off.
Old. Yeah, because we're getting kind of to the limit we have. So
yep.
Yeah. So thank you for coming up with these questions. Yeah, I was gonna say thank you to you first.
Oh, me? I get thanks? Yay!
So thank you for people listening as well, for listening this deep in on us just rambling. And next week, next recording we're probably going to talk about how to introduce kind of different concepts to your games. So like maybe darker content to your games. Right.
Yeah, especially in like a safe and contained environment.
Exactly. And what are the tools that RPG players have to discuss and play with dark subject matter in a way where everyone has their boundaries, again, respected, and everyone is still having fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty. So...
Thank you for joining me on this podcast.
And no problem. Thank you for joining. I see you finally come and thank me. And thank you to all listening as well. And, yeah.
Catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.